We are the Holocaust.
Welcome to We Are the Holocaust.
Hello, Bouncy.
Hello, Rob. What the devil do you think you're doing standing up to do a podcast?
It's new.
Who do you think you are?
Me.
Wow.
This is where I used to record my hockey podcast from my kitchen.
This is good.
Yeah.
This is your kitchen.
I always used to stand up to do it.
It's
like a proper radio type man.
You've got a lot of spices
You have.
in a rack.
Yeah. It's variety, you know. Spice life, or spice is the variety of my kitchen.
Yeah. So, welcome to episode 30.
Yeah.
Which is called Happy Birthday, Bouncy.
Happy birthday, Bouncy.
Thank you very much, Rob. Why didn't you come to my party?
Because my partner's eyeball fell out.
That's not an excuse. What sort of excuse is that?
Well, it's the truth.
Well, it is the truth. I did request photo evidence. You provided photo evidence.
Yep.
And since then, obviously a lot of photo evidence.
Yeah.
Most of which is awful.
Yeah.
But luckily she's on the mend.
She is.
So that's good. And she's just through the room. And
Yeah.
I made a joke about iPhones.
Yeah.
Which went down well.
I
Well.
know.
And you've seen my birthday cake.
Yes.
My work colleagues gave for me.
And it looks delicious.
It doesn't look delicious at all. It's a potato.
It's cake. It looks delicious.
I did
It's
think...
not burnt and it's cake.
With
it's
a
delicious.
little bit of work, I could have turned that into a portal cake. If I'd have made it into the GLaDOS potato.
Yeah.
And then I could have gone, look at me, I'm a potato. Because, obviously, the cake from the original, that would have been brilliant. So I'm thinking, maybe, for the next event, I might get... Because your birthday soon, isn't it?
End of October, yeah.
Yeah, so I might get her to make you a Fallout-related cake. Which is what I tried to hint to get, and I got a potato instead. Because there were two options. Working at a new place, they don't know me very well. So they're just going to get me a gift voucher
Yeah.
for, like, Burton's or something. And so I need to impress upon them that I don't buy clothes. These ones have got green on, look. You see all that green?
Oh, yeah.
See that? That's mushy peas from some time ago. And I've had these jeans for 2 years.
I thought you'd run on a field at a football match and slide tackle the striker just before he scored a goal.
No, because I wasn't signed. Manchester United couldn't work out the window in time, and then 1 minute late, and the paperwork was
Couldn't
sorted.
get you through the window in time.
Couldn't get me through the window.
No.
That's quite a topical joke.
Yeah.
And coming from me.
Yeah. Football and topical.
I know. Now I've just got to do is make sure I don't edit this for a week and it'll look like old news.
Yes.
But, so I figured I'd drop some hints. So I thought, rather than go straight in and go, I really like Fallout games. Fallout games are the best things ever. Do you know what I'd really like? I'm hoping that some of my friends give me Fallout stuff. Thinking Fallout book vinyls, Fallout pre-order, money for a game, whatever, really.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Turned up for work wearing a blue and yellow boiler suit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I
bought your
thought,
Slipknot album.
so as to not just seem like I'm taking advantage, I figured I'd also say about how much I love potatoes. And that potatoes are the best thing ever. And so
They're pretty versatile.
they are, particularly when they're shaped into waffles.
Mm.
And they become waffly versatile. But, yeah, so it turns out that my colleagues decided to run with the idea of me loving potatoes and made a model out of potatoes, of me, that currently resides in the freezer, in the ice cream freezer at work. We've buried him underneath inside a little bag.
It's like a prize thing. Whoever finds it wins like a free Coke.
No, it's basically I want it to be like California Man with Brendan Fraser.
Huh?
So that in the future he'll be defrosted and there'll be archaeologists will be like, we're not quite sure what happened here. A potato effigy was created of a fat man who appears to be naked apart from a ribbon.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then
So we're just assuming it was Sash.
there you go. I was trying to think.
They'll re-release his greatest hits.
Yes, I was trying to think of a song by them then, but I could only think of Darude.
Ecuador.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that a song by theirs? Or just
It
a
was.
country you've randomly taken?
No, it was. I figured that should have been the ironic punishment for Julian Assange when he fled to their embassy. They should make him listen to Sash's best hits on a loop. The police just outside,
I'm pretty
the
sure.
massive tannoy, blasting out Sash's greatest hits over and over and over, because he would have given in then.
He might have done, but
He would have.
either way.
So
So yeah,
there's only so many times you can listen to Mysterious Times before
There
you
is.
crack.
you know a lot about Sash.
I do.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
So my colleague Sam, who makes wonderful cakes, and I've seen really wonderful detailed cakes. She's done genitals. She's done.
You always lead with the genitals.
Yeah, well, you've got to get in there. Twin Peaks, she's done that. She's done
It still sounds
coffee
fancy.
related. She's done Game of Thrones related. She's done loads.
These are all genitals related.
They are kind of are, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, Fallout. I like Fallout. Could you imagine the cake I was going to get? Like, would I get
Post-apocalyptic
Vault Boy?
genitals.
Would I get a vault door? Would I get like the landscape with like little models on? No, I got a bloody potato.
Yeah.
2 potatoes with a candle in it.
Yeah.
Hey, it was gorgeous though.
That's more Elder Scrolls, isn't it? When you go into those dungeons that's been sealed for thousands of years and you find a potato in a barrel.
Yeah, and it hasn't gone out of date.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely cake, and I was very touched because it was hilarious that this little joke that I had for my own amusement has now amused everyone else. But yeah, so I'm now 35. I've eaten more meat than I've ever eaten in my life, and I haven't had a proper poo yet. When it does come out, it's going to be like bloody giraffe excluder.
Yeah.
So if you see giraffe excluders on eBay,
Yeah.
probably me.
Yeah. Fair enough. It's very unprofessional.
Oh, it is. It is unprofessional.
Yeah.
I've barely played games this week. That's how professional I've been.
Yeah.
I've bought more games than I've played.
I've been away most of the week. I have played some games, which is good for a gaming podcast.
You've probably played more games than me when you've been on holiday in the middle of nowhere.
Tapped out.
Oh,
Does
I've
that
played
count as more?
Tapped Out as well.
There we go then. I haven't played more.
I bought Gears Ultimate Edition.
Oh. See, I'm now on the cusp of having the funds for an Xbox One.
I know.
So
I
I'm
know.
looking at the Gears Ultimate
I've
bundle.
played my part.
Yeah.
But what I can say about Gears Ultimate, and it was actually something I really liked, they let me have the original Gears game early.
Right.
So pre-release, you could get the originals backwards compatibility. Now, only this will go to people who have the access to it. Luckily, I did. But what it allowed me to do was play Gears of War 1 through the Xbox One.
Yeah.
And it was surprising how brilliant that game still felt.
Yeah.
In its original form. Like, there's no polish being attached to this. This is just the game as released.
Yeah.
It was perfect. It was everything. I remembered every moment, every line of dialogue was familiar to me. Comes along to I think the 29th it came out on. It's the 29th. The game's launched, and I play the Ultimate Edition. And the jump in visual fidelity is immense.
Really?
Like, I thought this would just be a generic HD upscale. It's not. They've gone back and they've redesigned everything from the ground up, with the exception of the game audio.
Right.
Because that's so iconic.
Yeah.
It's like if you hear Marcus and it's not Marcus,
You know.
it's gone.
Yeah.
But if you see Marcus looking more like how you remember him, because that's the problem with rose-tinted gaming, is you go back to
The
a
mental
game.
image is often sharper than the actual game.
Like, some people
GoldenEye.
remember, and Lara Croft, remember the original Tomb Raider games and don't remember Booths being quite as pointy. Because in your head, you rounded that out.
Yeah. You remember the promo poster, Lara Croft,
Yeah.
not the actual...
But also, when polygons were in gaming, you didn't really notice them that much. Whereas now we're used to what we got. You kind of, anything else just looks horrible and angular. Like Virtua Fighter looks ridiculous, even though it was still one of the best fighting games that's ever been made. Just looks awful. It looks like a cartoon made by Picasso. The remaster of Gears of War is just sublime. Like, it's taken a really good game. The gameplay is as it was. It's got a few little refinements that makes it feel like everything that they learned while developing the different Gears games has been put back into the first game. Every multiplayer mode from all the games has been added in. Every multiplayer map that was available for Gears 1 is in there. The PC exclusive content is in there. It's just for 30 quid.
Yeah.
Is the
I think
best
I'll probably
value.
get the bundle then.
Yeah.
Console.
Because it's Gears was great, but as the first game in a series, I was worried that was the one they were going to remaster. I thought it was going to be like Halo Combat Evolved.
Right.
Whereas like that was an alright game at the time. No, it was a great game at the time, but an alright game in retrospect.
Yeah.
Gears was a great game at the time, and is a great game in retrospect. And that, given that treatment as well, meant that it's phenomenal. The downside was, the day that unlocked, my Xbox Live ran out.
Oh.
And I couldn't get a code quick enough, so I could only play with the offline modes. And then I got access to the Black Ops 3 beta, which was a closed beta, mostly for people who pre-order the game.
Yeah.
And I won a code via the White Noise podcast Twitter feed.
Yep.
So I installed it, thinking, well, I might be able to do something offline. Nope. Can't even go past the title screen.
Ooh.
So a couple of days later, all hooked back up to Xbox Live again, and I played Black Ops 3.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's so it's so much fun, like ridiculous fun, but it is a Black Ops game.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not into Black Ops, there's nothing there for you.
Mm.
If you like Titanfall, as in the movement of the troops,
Yeah.
not the giant robots, this is the perfect game for you. If you like Deus Ex, but wish it was a bit more like Call of Duty, this is a game for you. I was underwater shooting people. I was running along walls shooting people. You choose different specialists. So you kind of, like, before you'd have a medic or a heavy, they've got rid of that a little bit. And instead you play as different characters. And the one I chose was a woman who had a bow and arrow as a power-up.
Right.
So that's not her primary or secondary weapon. It's just if you do a certain amount of things in a game, you get access to that weapon.
Right.
That's quite a cool little feature, really. It's like a kind of, if you're good, you'll look really good on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because you'll be using these weapons and you'll get the great replays.
Yeah.
And if you're not good, then you just play a normal Call of Duty game. And I played 3 full rounds before I realised I was clearly not good enough. But that doesn't matter because I've never been very good at Black Ops.
No.
Like, that's not the game's fault. It's just me. I'm not quick enough for that sort of
No,
game.
I've been particularly good at the
Gears was better for me because it was paced. There was cover, like you could, if you died, usually it was drawn out. It wasn't like a couple of shots and you were gone, unless you got headshots. But even then, that was very rare. That really took you out with one. And so anybody who's on the fence and worrying a little bit about Black Ops 3 and therefore hasn't played the beta because they haven't pre-ordered yet, probably stop worrying.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to be ridiculous good fun, and they've just announced that the Nuketown map is coming back, which was a great map and still will be. This one's set in 22, 23, or whatever it is, whatever year the game's set.
Yeah.
So they've taken the same map but actually moved it on.
Beefed it up a bit.
And so it's the same size, but it's just the technology has changed. So it's very, very good, very pretty. I think it's now finished, so I don't think I'll be able to play it anymore. But I'm happy with what I played. It was all right. Dishonored Definitive.
Yep.
I've got that as well. I haven't even loaded it.
Yeah.
The
I've been playing Bioshock Infinite when I've been actually on the console.
Well, this is the thing. Like, sometimes you buy these new games, but the advantage I've got is I've bought them all digitally. Everything, as I've talked about so far, has been bought digitally. For the reason of A, my disk drive being rubbish, but B, the value seems to be about right at the moment. Dishonored I got for 15 quid because I owned a digital download that I had for Games of Gold. Gears of War was £1 more as a digital download. Well, of course I'm going to go for that then.
Yeah.
Because for £1, the convenience of not changing a disc is worth it.
Probably cost you more on the bus.
And I'm not going to trade that in.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to worry about losing out on the second-hand market. And what was it again? Oh, Black Ops as well, obviously.
Yep.
Being a download. The Dear God is this month's free game. A side-scrolling 2D pixel art game about karma and reincarnation. Seems very interesting. I've not had a chance to play it, but I've watched it.
Tomb Raider Definitive Editions. One of the games that got
Second
later
part
on.
of the month, yeah.
So I'm quite excited about it because I really liked the reboot on the 360.
Absolutely.
So that saved me
Be able to play it with
as much
pretty
as
hair
£10.
now. Yeah, well, it's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. And it's perfectly timed.
It's a game.
Speaking of games, it's games. Chat roulette isn't a game.
Not anymore, apparently.
But it kind of is a game if
Well,
you've got some very imaginative people.
Yes.
There's a video doing around, which is incredible. It's a group of people. I don't know if you've read the story behind it.
Yes, I saw it on the running order because I've been away, so I kind of
Yeah.
missed the first wave of this, but I caught up on it earlier on.
Yeah. Have you seen the video all the way through?
No, not the
So
way through.
basically, it's a group of friends set up in an area where they could have a real life first-person shooter experience with zombies. And then they had to get people to hit things on the keyboard in time. It reminded me of the 90s when you watched Going Live or Live and Kicking, and they'd have that thing where you'd hit the keyboard or you'd let 4
Touch-tone
and 6 on your
keypad.
phone. Yeah.
Oh,
it was basically that on chat roulette, and people were like, oh god, just throw your gun at a zombie. And people got really into it.
Yeah.
And
It was a very cool idea.
I'd love to see this become a thing.
A thing.
Because could you imagine them promoting Doom with this?
Yeah, that'd be quite cool.
You know, or a new Wolfenstein game.
The problem is, this is going to be one of those late night Channel 5 games.
It doesn't matter.
Where it's just like, oh, you need the grand prize? Oh, you've just been eating by a zombie that was just off camera. You have no way of knowing what's there.
All they have to do with this is make it viral in a sense. You don't advertise it. You just go on one day, you capture all the footage, you come back and you edit like they do. You edit it together. And that's all that matters. I mean, I doubt all of this was on there when people were watching it.
No.
But they got to see everything, and it was funny when they were just in a room that was locked. It was like, how do you get out? It was just like, jump. It was like, jumped on the spot. It was all the tropes of first-person shooter games mucked around. And yeah, it was great fun. I really I implore everyone to go and Google chat roulette.
I think it's quite
first-person shooter.
Fun use of the technology as well.
It's a very clever use. And it's certainly way ahead of the guy who did Wrecking Ball, if you remember him from last year.
Vaguely, I don't know if I watched that one.
He just went on chat roulette in full Miley Cyrus gear on a homemade wrecking ball, swinging around, singing the song. It was very funny. He was a beardy man, and that was about as good as it got. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Now, I've been at work a lot this week.
Yeah,
lots of film stuff.
Yeah,
I watched Mission Impossible.
Any good?
Very good, but
I don't mind the Mission Impossible films.
Not the best.
No,
feels a little bit too tidy. It's got Alec Guinness. Got Alec Baldwin.
Right.
If had Alec Guinness, that would be a coup, wouldn't
that
it?
would, wow.
A corpse of Alec Guinness.
They're just cutting old Star Wars footage and old lady killers footage.
Yeah. And it, suddenly Ethan had to change his name to Luke just to make it easier on the edit. But no, it's very much a Mission Impossible film. I was a bit disappointed because Joe Morena's character is kind of sidelined for a lot of it.
Right.
Whereas after being quite in the fore during Ghost Protocol and pegged to be the follow-on or the successor to Tom Cruise, that hasn't happened with this one. It's had a notoriously difficult production where loads of the writers pulled out and said they didn't want to be involved. But it's good. It's a solid movie. It's like I say, it's just a little bit too tidy towards the end. There wasn't a lot of what I would call Mission Impossible moments. Yeah. And Simon Pegg looks really old.
He's in his 40s now.
I know, but I find that difficult because I identify with Simon Pegg when he was in Spaced.
Yeah.
And so I have to accept the fact that if he's getting old, I'm getting old.
That's true.
And I don't want to get old. Also, you'd have been very impressed. There he was. He gets a job, I think, with the CIA. And he's there with an Xbox One controller. Right. And he's like... And shows some footage, and I'm thinking, that looks like Halo. Yeah. And then he gets his controller, opens the drawer, puts it in, there's a copy of Halo 5 Guardians. Yeah. Slides it away. What a brilliant piece of product placement there. From a completely unreleased game that's not available at all, and Benji's just been playing it casually at his work desk. So I do think that's a weird moment. Like, in Fantastic Four, they played the new Assassin's Creed game.
Right.
Which also...
Is that the new thing now we're starting to...
Well, this is what I'm thinking. Like, this is just an opportunity to chuck a game in. Because I thought the Assassin's Creed game in Fantastic Four was Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood. Right. Because it had fighting over control area. But apparently, no, that's from the new one. Mm. So, yeah, we've now had Assassin's Creed Rogue? Not Rogue, Syndicate, isn't it? Yeah. In a film that doesn't have the Syndicate. And then a film that does have a Syndicate, they had Halo 5 Guardians. Yeah. Who'd have thought about it?
Oh, there we go.
Leads us nicely on to, though, let's talk about film stuff.
Yeah.
What we got?
Well, the first one is Borderlands movie coming from Lionsgate and Avi Arad.
Well, Avi Arad we can trust because he made Spider-Man 3 and the Fantastic Four movies. So, yeah. That's all good. And Ghost Rider as well. Ghost Rider. He's basically a big Marvel film producer, so he's well known for those. He does very good films, and Lionsgate are well known for putting money behind good franchises.
Terrible press release, though. Look at it. That's the worst web page I've ever seen.
It is just a straight up.
Could they not afford like a return key or some like half-assed HTML just to spread things out? It's terrible.
This is what would get sent. This is basically like a PDF. I just link straight to the document. They probably have a fancy version somewhere.
Still,
But we're in the press world now, Rob. I get access to this stuff both through this and my other job. So we should be grateful that we've got this amazing press access to Lionsgate's publicity websites. Anyway, they're making a Borderlands film, and hopefully it'll be the first of 3 is their plan, with all the major characters. Now, I think it'll work, because the Telltale games, Tales of the Borderlands, did very well using a kind of a interactive narrative.
Yeah.
And I think that is, usually it's worked better adapting films or TV to game, so it should make it easy to go the opposite way.
Hopefully.
And it could this be...
We've mentioned before, I'm always slightly apprehensive with game to movie. And vice versa. We talked about it at length on a show several weeks ago now, mostly about the Marvel games, but we sort of deviated, as we sometimes do. So I'm apprehensive, but we'll see. Yeah. It's got some good names attached to it.
It has. And importantly, it's a very profitable game series that's still relevant, and is a world in which you could easily set a story anywhere. Even if you didn't adapt the actual gameplay, just setting a story on Pandora. Which is something they're going to do with the new Assassin's Creed movie, starring Michael Fassbender.
They're going to set it on Pandora?
No, they are created an entirely new storyline. So this is being kind of teased at the moment with a really weird image of Michael Fassbender where it looks photoshopped into an Assassin's Creed photo.
Yeah, it was a little... when I first saw this on Twitter, it was just the image, and I thought it was a promo for Macbeth.
Right.
The new Macbeth film he's in.
Yeah.
And then it was like, first look Michael Fassbender in Assassin's Creed. I'm like, oh.
Because I'd forgotten he was going to be in Assassin's Creed until this release came out. But, I mean, the outfit is spot on.
Yeah.
They couldn't get much better there.
No,
Playing Callum Lynch, which I think is the 1600s? 15th century Spain. So, 1600s, isn't it? No, 1400s.
Yes.
So, 1492, so it's around the time of finding America. So, you've got quite a lot going on there. But, yeah, fighting the Templars. Yeah. Marion Cotillard in there, who is also starring in Hamlet, I believe.
Macbeth. She's Lady Macbeth, isn't she?
Yeah.
I like Marion Cotillard.
So do I. And, so...
Kenneth Williams.
Kenneth Williams as in... matron.
Yeah. Oh,
the corpse of Kevin Williams.
Yeah.
Kenneth Williams, even, has been brought back to join the corpse of Alec Guinness in Best Supporting Role in next year's Academy Awards.
And that woman from Titanic.
Titanic?
Yeah, Titanic, yeah.
Oh, God. I've not drank enough to deal with this. But again, making it set in the world of Assassin's Creed, but not trying to be Ezio. Because I think that's the hardest bit to do. If you've given somebody control of a character and they've spent 50 hours playing as that character, and then you put that on film, and it's not exactly the same as you've imagined it, because you're drawing out the rest of it, you're making the moral choices.
Yeah.
It jars. It's what happened, I mean... It's specifically what happened with the Mario Brothers movie with Bob Hoskins. By changing so much, it completely ruined the link to Mario. Yeah. I could see what they were trying to do, but it didn't work out. The best adaptations have always been where they've kind of not concentrated on being the game, and just sort of taking cues from it. It doesn't happen often, but I'm very confident the Assassin's Creed one will be a biggie, as well. Borderlands. So, also, the Fantastic Four. We mentioned this briefly, but Avi Arad, although I don't think he was involved in this one. Some more stories come out about this.
Yeah, we touched on this, was it in the last episode, I think?
Well, I defended this game very heavily.
The
film, very heavily. And... I've read more now. I've got a better picture of what actually happened on set.
I've got a better picture of the picture.
And I now don't think that I want to see Josh Trank's version of the film at all.
No.
Because it's not all in this story.
Yep.
But basically, he got a house given to him to live in while he filmed the film. He moved some of his dogs in, caused $100,000 worth of damage.
I did read that somewhere.
How do you do $100,000 worth of damage to a house without knocking a house down?
Maybe he did.
What sort of dogs were they?
That's just a roof and like 4 posts.
24 St Bernards. He was making a Beethoven sequel. He had a tent that he lived in pretty much on set. He shot from inside the tent. He had his viewing cameras inside the tent. He wouldn't talk to the cast at all. And a lot of the stunted dialogue was a result of him getting the cast to repeat a line until they did it like that.
Yeah.
So then they started doing it like that to stop the aggression.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff I love about it turns out to have been the reshoots.
Yeah.
Which is weird for me.
Well, this is the thing.
Studio
really
intervention was a good thing.
This is the whole weird thing about this film is that depending on what you read, you seem to get a different shape. So you read lots of different things. It's a classic thing. There's side A, side B, and in the middle there's the truth.
Yeah.
Except this one kind of has a multifaceted thing where you've got sides A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of read various different things and you start to get a picture of which elements are being mentioned multiple times.
Yeah.
If you see the same thing several times,
Absolutely.
there's more credence to it being part of the true picture.
Well, the two big things that stood out that made me think that everything that the representatives, and it wasn't 20th Century Fox, it was people who were on the inside had come out with this. The cast, when they were promoting the film, hadn't actually seen the film. It was in such a state that they hadn't seen it.
They just had to go out there
So
and
they were
nod
just
and
going
smile
out
and answer
and
questions.
just say about how it was making the film without saying awful. It was terrible.
Well,
We had a horrible time. And the other thing is the trailer that came out just before launch had a lot of the original elements of the film in it.
Because a lot of people picked up on that when the film was
Yeah.
released. And
And
why did they change this?
And some
Why
of
did they
it
change
was
that?
things like big action sequences being taken out. Apparently 3 major action sequences were edited out of the film. So how terrible must they have been
to have to come
handled
out
by a guy who made Chronicle? I don't get it. I don't get what happened.
So I struggled to figure out
The only
where it fell
sense
down so badly.
comes from
Or seems to fall,
the fact that, and this, as this story illustrates, Galactus and Mole Man were in an early version of the script.
Yep.
And I'm wondering whether those sequences revolved around an expanded universe.
Yeah.
And to make them right, because obviously the reshoot would have to be everything, to do huge action sequences and do them well would be very difficult. So it's easy to lose those and concentrate on the story and concentrate on the origin.
Yeah.
And then think, we can always do these later.
Well, the thing is, I think you've probably seen with a couple of the Marvel films, even though they're still big set pieces, Winter Soldier and Ant-Man, the ones that immediately jump to mind, even though there are some set pieces, they're great films because the story is very good, I think. So they're driven by the story, so you can do more with a great story or well-told story than you can with a bunch of set pieces strung together flimsily. So you can understand why they probably want to make that decision if that's the situation they're facing. It's like, well, let's try and shore up the story because people will buy into a story more than they'll just be set piece, next set piece, next one. And you'll be like, oh, what? I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they're less forgiving of things like that.
Yes.
They're more willing to overlook. Well, there wasn't a car chase, but it was a really good thriller, or it was a really good, or the story.
Because you forget
passable.
what isn't there if what is there is good enough.
Yeah.
And that's
That's what I'm trying to say in about 1,000 words when 10 will do, yes.
This is, I think, the problem with Fantastic Four is that what was remaining wasn't good enough. I still like it. I still think there is a solid movie there somewhere. I think if it weren't for the Marvel deadline, if they didn't get that movie out, they lost the rights.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the luxury of time.
One thing that Fantastic Four, is it just that this is a quite difficult, I say character speaking generally, to approach in film form? Because with Iron Man and say Batman, you've got the flawed billionaire at the centre of the suit.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, similar-ish, you've got a sort of a flawed teenager.
Yeah.
And that's what makes some of these characters great. They're flawed humans with superpowers.
The alter ego is as interesting as the
yes,
hero.
even Captain America, because he obviously, Steve Rogers was this very upstanding citizen, but he was, physically he was weak and got pushed around a lot. And then they transferred that morality into the super soldier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Whereas the Fantastic Four, is there just something there which is much harder to put onto screen? Because it's a little bit... Does it go too far, in a sense? A guy who can stretch like rubber. And the Thing, and is it just that bit where you cross a line where you think, it's a superhero film, so it's going to be, mad in a sense. It's going to be fantastic.
There's not enough grounding in reality to
Yeah,
make it relatable.
there's a hook in some of these others that keeps things.
Well, this is it. I mean, that's why Ant-Man
just too
succeeded
much.
for me massively. Is Scott Lang is entirely believable.
Yeah,
Like even when it's as fantastical as that film gets, at the centre of it is a guy with a heart who just wants to look after his daughter.
yeah,
And that is an issue, but that's an issue with the Fantastic Four as a comic book as well.
Yeah.
And it's a reason why I think that
because
Marvel...
even Thor had ties because of the Norse legends.
Yeah.
So even that was kind of like, well, look, these legends aren't legends. It was actually...
And Jane
Yeah.
was a linchpin to say, actually,
Yeah.
there's
Eric
your human
Selvig
element.
and,
Whereas with this, you've got... I mean, with the Fantastic Four film of this year, you have a group of people who go to another dimension and gain powers. And at the end of it, everybody else involved in that pretty much just fades out, and it's just those four left. And it's, as an origin story goes, it's very clean. Moving forward, it would still be difficult because Fantastic Four is, and I stand by this, it's not the best thing that Marvel ever invented.
No.
It's had some good storylines, but it is very much a 60s comic book series.
Yeah. And part of what made the comics good were some of the villains. I mean, some of the comic book Doctor Doom storylines there was a genuine sense of peril.
Yeah.
From
And
the comic book
the
sense.
coming of Galactus was a genuine, huge threat.
In the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
I love the Silver Surfer as a character.
Yeah.
And granted, it wasn't a great film, but there are elements that worked in the, should we call it, the original versions of the films with Ioan Gruffudd. There were bits there that I loved when he goes through the building.
Yeah.
Little bits like that were great, but it just didn't really work.
Yeah. That's the thing, like where the Fantastic Four film of the 90s, that kind of went the wrong way. It kind of went a bit too camp for the time, whereas this one's gone a bit too straight. And it plays it like... I mean, Miles Teller is a phenomenal young actor. There's a scene in it where he wakes up, because basically they get their powers and they basically get held in a facility until the government looking after them can work out what's going on. And because he can stretch, he can go through the air ducts.
Yeah.
And as he's kind of stretching himself through, his entire torso is just dragging behind. He can't control it. None of them can control the power. So he's just kind of going stretchy without needing to. And it's quite a horrible image. It's like almost a horror image where he's just not in control of anything. And all of that is really good. It works really well. But it's completely at odds with Fantastic Four as a comic book. So the die-hard fans were always going to hate it.
Yeah.
And those who were never fans of Fantastic Four have absolutely got to have a good movie to buy into it. And so neither side is really placated.
Yeah.
Whereas for me going into it, I was told so much.
Too much.
I was told so much about how bad it was going to be that I went in with zero expectation and found myself enjoying elements of it.
Yeah.
And the elements I enjoy of it, I still think if there was a new version of it coming out with a bit more time, and they could go back and do almost like they did with the road cut of Days of Future Past, which is a superior film to Days of Future Past. And why it was never released makes no sense to me.
But that's the same as the Alien 3 Director's Cut.
Yeah.
Which I think is far superior to the cinematic release.
But the road cut wasn't like that. Oh Christ, I can't remember the name now. Director Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Bryan Singer didn't have control of what went out? He had full say of it, but they just said, "Well, there is this alternate version. We'll just release it."
Yeah.
So it was almost like the Hobbit strategy of, well, why?
But they did that with Iron Legend as well, didn't they? With the two endings.
They did, but they both went on the DVD. With this, they've said. I mean, I almost bought the road cut the other day, but the road cut only has the road cut on.
Yeah.
To own both version films, you have to buy both Blu-rays. I object to that.
They'll change that at some point.
There will be a bundle.
I've already got Days of Future Past on Blu-ray, so it doesn't affect me.
Well, this is it. But would you jump at getting Rogue?
If it was cheap, probably.
At the moment, it's £15.
Not for 15.
And it's like it's a reissue. Okay, it's a new version of the and it's
So
some
that
elements
point
of
in
it.
the future, where it will inevitably happen, where it is in some Amazon sale or similar for a £5.
Yeah,
Yes.
then you've got it complete.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Right? For me, that's a significant change that made for a better film. They could do that with Fantastic Four if they wanted to. I hope they do. 20th Century Fox obviously did it with Days of Future Past. I hope they come out with something Fantastic Four where it just makes the ending more sense. It gives it something. They can just sit and put some money. Okay, they've lost a lot of money on the film itself, but they're always going to.
Yeah.
they'll lose a lot more money if they can't then do anything else with that franchise.
Yeah.
And so I
But
genuinely
the thing
hope
is, as
it
well,
comes through.
they may be able to recoup something via the DVDs.
Yeah, it's possible. But again...
It's not, I grant it, but they're probably in too deep now to really...
Yeah, but if the DVD they release is an alternate cut...
Yeah, or it's
not
on
the
there,
version you saw in cinemas.
people feel a lot different about buying a DVD.
Yeah, because you then think, well, actually, the one at cinema was rubbish. Maybe this one's better.
Mm.
And if it reviews well, if they get it out and it gets good reviews, it could, like I say, it
Is
could
this
turn
one of those
fortunes.
things where you want that brutally honest bonus fit stuff as well?
I'd love to see a
Where you-
Kickstarter campaign.
Where you almost
for
want that really on it, just so, that very honest feedback of the difficult... Because you get it now with Alien 3, you can read up on it, because that's
Yeah.
one of the most notoriously difficult shoots in
Yeah.
film history. And you can read up on all that now. Sigourney Weaver's been interviewed about it, Fincher...
I think the downside with Alien 3, or the plus side maybe, is it was still profitable. 20th Century Fox will allow that,
Yeah,
because despite all the criticism, it was a success for them commercially.
yeah.
May not have been as critically acclaimed as they would have wanted, but commercially, Alien
They
3
made their
was
money back
successful.
at least, yeah.
Yeah, and it
But that's
allowed
the point.
them to keep going.
Do you try and salvage something and maybe even use it as one of these things where you hold your hands up?
Yeah.
Because there's at least an element of humility then that people will kind of say, fair play. You know, we know this was a difficult film, and we know it didn't do well at the cinema. If you get behind that iron curtain,
Yeah.
it makes them seem a much... Because this is the thing, you're in an age of corporations, faceless corporations. So you kind of get behind that a little bit. There's a little bit of humility from 20th Century Fox to say, there were problems here. And we're going to put the cards on the table. It's ugly at times, it's uncomfortable for us at times, but let's own the mistake. And then, as you say, if there's the alternative, even if it's as deleted scenes or cuts, at least it's out there and say, look, there were other things that went on. We cut it from the release. It's all on this DVD, Blu-ray, 2
Even
discs,
if it's
$20,
in work in
whatever.
progress stuff, they have
Yeah.
finished the effects. They wanted to put the storyboards in,
Yeah,
like
that's
doing
right, exactly.
Pixar films.
Yeah, so, it just something because, as you said, this is now a tainted franchise.
It is.
Like completely tainted now, I
Yeah.
think, because the other two films in the early noughties we mentioned were okay. They commercially did okay. Critically not great again. Anything Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, IMDb. There's no great reviews out there for it.
No.
But they made their money back, but people go, "Oh, Fantastic Four!" as a result. And now this, it's like we've basically, short of it being used as some sort of side franchise in a wider Marvel Universe story, which you would theorise would mean it would have to go back to Marvel to be part of Infinity Wars, for example.
Yeah.
This is it's. They might as well just either do something like that, something bold and different to try and salvage it, or just ditch it.
Yeah.
Because what else can they do at this point? Unless they completely reboot it, like they kind of did with Daredevil, because that was tainted as well after the Ben Affleck film.
But then that ended up with Marvel.
It did, of course, yes.
so-
But you know what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
They try and do something very different to...
Well, we'll see.
Because a TV series is very different from doing another film. Because people are going, oh, Daredevil film, that was shit last time.
Well, it's the X-Men have got an uphill struggle because I think Days of Future Past wasn't as good as people wanted it to be.
I really enjoyed it.
We talked to this
But
before about our different
I think
sides.
that the other problem here is not just that, but that first set of promo shots with Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse.
Yeah.
That was the balloon deflating very
But
quickly.
here's the thing: the more I read on this, the crazier this film is sounding.
Yeah.
The better this film is sounding. They've taken elements of various different X-Men runs and merging them to make the ultimate apocalypse story.
Yeah.
The big things that have impressed me is the Blob being in there. Now, that's not officially announced, but somebody who did a set visit
Yeah.
just accidentally said, "Oh, yeah, I can't wait to see that." There's an underground fight club of mutants that's been seen in promo footage. We've got the fact that you've got Storm, Psylocke, I think Havoc and Apocalypse, and Magneto, I think, are the Four Horsemen in it. They've said they want this to be the biggest they've ever done.
Yeah.
And despite the look of Apocalypse, I can't help but get really excited for this one. they said
I'm still, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, personally I'm still excited because I love the character, but I know the reaction when those promo shots came out wasn't great.
No.
And that's the thing. And any X-Men film I tend to get excited for because I loved the cartoon run when I was a kid. I've got some of them on DVD. They were in 99p store, which is great. I think I've got most of that series. But it took the wind out of the sails a bit. And as you said, not everybody enjoyed Days of Future Past.
No.
And there is a struggle there. And sometimes you do need... I mean, like you said, there's so many different things going on. Individual elements alone, which could elevate this film.
Yeah.
So the main story could be okay, but you've got those little bits
But this is the
take
thing.
an okay film, they make it good or very good. It's just little bits. You're like, that was awesome. That set piece.
Because Days of Future Past have done better in X-Men animated series.
Yeah.
That's the annoying bit. Like, nothing should be better in a 90s animated series than a big Hollywood blockbuster with people like Michael Fassbender in it. It just, logic would dictate that you can say, okay, well, that's sort of the storyline. Let's do something else. With Apocalypse, because they're taking it from so many different areas, it could go one of two ways. Now, I'm worried it'll go the Age of Ultron route, where it'll end up not being as good as any of the individual parts. It'll still be very good, but Age of Ultron, as much as and at the time, I genuinely feel I still prefer that to Avengers Assemble, but it's not my favourite Marvel film by a long stretch.
Rewatching it, still enjoyed it, but there are a lot of bits in there which are tee-ups to future films.
Yeah.
I think, looking now, to the detriment of
the whole Thor
the film.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, I mean, but watching it the first time, that was very evident. Very evident to everybody what was going on there. But it, just other bits.
But that was so heavy-handed that you couldn't have missed
it. Yeah, other bits, but like almost any scene with Captain America and Tony Stark. Almost any scene now is like, oh, that's just feeding that.
Yeah.
And it almost lost, because one of the great things before was, even though we knew these films were interconnected, especially things like Iron Man 3 with Avengers Assemble, they still stood up pretty strongly as standalone films. Whereas rewatching Age of Ultron, actually, you almost feel like the framework, it's not as robust. It's a good film still, but because it's teeing up so many other elements now, it almost suffers for it, I think.
Yeah, and I think with Avengers Assemble, it was unique in the sense that it was everybody on screen together for the first time.
Well, they can never repeat
that. They
that.
couldn't do that, yeah. Like you said, that first shot in New York where it rotates the camera
because that's the first time we all saw it, went to the Marvel Weekend of Deluxe. I enjoyed Ultron more than Avengers Assemble. I watched it again, I'd take that back.
Yeah,
because
it's a weird one.
It's so many things are now evident. That was the thing with Avengers Assemble, it was infinitely watchable again and again and again and again. Like Winter Soldier, and hopefully I think Ant-Man probably will be as well, and Guardians I can watch over and over. Whereas Age of Ultron, it's like, I still really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's so many bits going, that's pushing that little boat towards that, and that's doing that, and that's setting that up, and it's like, and it subtracts from the film. But
we'll see. There's a lot of good Marvel stuff coming out. Deadpool's the important one, that's what matters at the moment. Now, the sort of last film-related thing sort of almost doesn't matter, because a rumour came out that Mad Max director George Miller was getting the gig on Man of Steel 2.
Yes.
Which would be quite cool, because he originally was queued up to make a Justice League film.
He was.
And it never happened. I think that was Justice League Mortal.
Yep.
Was it called? Just
There's a documentary being made about it. So.
Yeah, and so that was always going to be the thing. And then it never happened. And now it's looking like he isn't going to be doing Man of Steel 2, because it looks like the film's been permanently shelved. Which is interesting in the sense that, does this suggest that they don't want to do too many individual films once the Justice League has been formed? Because it would make no sense to have a solo Superman film when you've got a team of superheroes to play around with. Which I would prefer to see more Justice League films than Superman films. Yeah,
and is this partly DC learning from, possibly from Marvel's lead, where it's like you've got a lot of individual films now?
Yeah.
And some of diminishing returns. As much as I liked Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin, I know everybody liked the way they did Mandarin in Iron Man 3. I liked that character, but I didn't enjoy Iron Man 3 massively as a film. A lot of people really rate it. But the first viewing was very good, but it doesn't have that same.
I'll put my hands up here and say I haven't really genuinely enjoyed any of the Iron Man films.
I love the first
as
one.
individuals, but I really love the character of. I think the characterization of Tony Stark and Iron Man has never been better. But I just think with the first one, the stuff where he first builds a suit is all great.
Yeah.
But the battle towards the end is just is gimpy
with Jeff Daniels.
Yeah, and it's just kind of
Jeff Daniels. No, not Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. Thank you. Sorry, Jeff Daniels.
Jack Daniels. But that was early Marvel. That was when they were struggling to what was going to be there or not there.
Yeah.
With 2, it just went way out of where it needed to be.
I didn't mind to.
But again, if you compare that to some of their strong stuff, you compare it to Winter Soldier, it's a shit sequel.
But then Winter Soldier might be the best of the lot.
But that's what I'm saying. But they could make that level of film now, again, if they want to. And I genuinely believe Civil War will be that good. And then 3, I love Shane Black. Genuinely love Shane Black. I think what he did with it was good. But again, the whole, for me, taking the Extremists storyline and then not really doing that.
Yeah.
With the exception of it being a bit of a plot device saying, people really want to see that, and this might be the last one we do. So we kind of might do the Hulkbuster, but we don't want to do the Hulkbuster, so we'll just do a suit that looks a bit like the Hulkbuster, but we'll do the Heartbreaker suit, and we'll do the Extremist storyline, and we'll get all that out of the way now, and we'll have him doubt himself, because that's important as well.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, we know this is potentially the last full Iron Man movie, so let's cram it all in.
Yeah.
And I think that was its issue. It had so much going on. It was almost like Spider-Man 3, where Spider-Man 3 had all the best elements of Spider-Man in one film, but it didn't feel like the best Spider-Man film.
Because there was too much going on.
Absolutely, and I think that's the issue number 3 had. The silly fight at the end at the shipping yard was just like a computer game. It wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
It was just then, here's 1,000 suits.
But that's what I mean. Is this where DC have kind of learned? They've gone, well, look, there's a few people who are suffering from superior fatigue. We've kind of seen that we don't have to do all these sequels, individual sequels. People know who Batman is.
Yeah.
We've, even just by the Christopher Nolan films, have made Batman at the forefront of public consciousness again, in the cinematic sense. We've done Man of Steel, so we've got Superman back on track after a lot of people went, Superman Returns was shit, I don't like Superman anymore. I know you've got issues with Superman anyway, but that's by the by.
I have no issue with Man of Steel, because it's not a Superman film.
So this is what I'm driving at. So they've got Batman was kind of teed back up by Nolan's films, so they're not going to do another origin there. They're going to kind of incorporate that into Dawn of Justice.
Yeah,
they've done Man of Steel. They've got Superman back on track in people's minds. They introduced Wonder Woman in Dawn of Justice.
Yeah.
There's an Aquaman film coming. Fair enough. I kind of get that one to a point, because if they do that well, it doesn't make him such a superfluous character. It's kind of like
he'll still be a superfluous character.
He probably will be, but I can see, there's a sense there in trying to do that one because he's a less well-known character.
Yeah, I know, it makes sense.
You've teed up your 3 big ones. Everybody knows. You've got the Flash TV series and the Green Arrow TV series, or the Arrow TV series. Yeah. So are they just learning and say, well, look, we've got all this stuff going on, so people know who these people are.
Yeah, we don't
Aquaman, let's do something with.
Yeah,
but. And are they just learning? We don't need to do all this. It's either been done for us, or we can do it much more subtly within what we've already got.
There's a lot of sense in holding fire and seeing how Suicide Squad and Dawn of Justice do.
Because they're big budget as well.
Because they need to know what feedback is on that before you start ploughing in. That's what Marvel's big strength is. Marvel know they can make anything, and people will watch it.
And that's the thing. If Suicide Squad does well, does that then put a better focus on making another Suicide Squad film,
or just making darker a DC film? Like keep on that impetus. Just say, we don't need to be the colourful world of Marvel.
Yeah.
We can be the dark world that DC always was.
Yeah.
And why Batman is so appealing to people.
Yeah.
But either way, it now looks like it's been shelved. So if it doesn't, and George Miller gets it, that's brilliant, because Mad Max Fury Road is one of the most visually astonishing films I've seen in a long time. Watched it again this week, and it just got better watching it the second time. There was a press event, or not press, it was like a Comic-Con thing, and he was showing off footage, and when they have a line up with a microphone, and so someone, how did you do those effects? And that was Robert Rodriguez. Watching it, some of it I don't get. I just want the Blu-ray to have 5 hours of this is how we made Fury Road, because it will be a genuinely fascinating story to see how much of that was genuinely practical effects, because I think it's about 90%.
Yeah,
so
it probably will be with Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, that was a lot of film stuff.
It was. Let's do some game stuff, as this is technically a gaming podcast.
What should we talk about?
Xbox One compatibility. We're going to apparently find out some more games, which will be available. On backwards compat.
It's supposed to be this week. Yeah. It's we read through that list of the top requested things. Now, the top requested doesn't mean necessarily they're going to happen, but
you'd think it would be a useful list or a useful pointer.
I think
because they want things people will play.
If they want to really piss in Sony's cornflakes, they want to put the Call of Duty games on there.
Yeah,
because not many people would have bought them digitally.
No.
So what will happen is there'll be a sudden surge of people buying them digitally, or just taking their disc and thinking, "Great, I couldn't play that before.
Yeah.
Now I can play that again." Like there are people who really love Black Ops and will not play any other game than the very first Black Ops because that was the one that was right for them. This allows them to keep doing it. If they do that with the new one.
Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was top of the list, I think. Looking at
well, this is it. If you if you take the biggest. Even now, the ones that are played the most, they're the 10 you should concentrate on.
Yeah.
Like, get them on there because people will continue playing those games.
Yeah. Halo 2 is a prime example.
Yeah.
They played that for as long as they physically could.
Yeah, and beyond when Bungie wanted them to.
So there we go. Black Ops 2 was top. Red Dead Redemption was second. Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim. Modern Warfare 2, again. Halo Reach. Black Ops 1, Gears 3, Fallout 3, Modern Warfare 3, Mass Effect 3, World at War, Bioshock Infinite, Fallout New Vegas, Left 4 Dead 2.
And majority of those multiplayer games or games that have got sequels coming out that people want to play the originals.
So what have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Call of Duty games out of 50, the top 15.
And if they put all of those on there with support for multiplayer, because that's the only downside. Like if a game's had the multiplayer turned off, there's no point bringing that across. However, say Treyarch decide, or whoever it is now who's in charge of Black Ops, I forget, but it never was Treyarch, was it, with Black Ops? It was...
they did...
Yes, there was Treyarch, but then it became somebody else. But it can go through, but we're supposed to find out this week. We haven't found out yet, so I'm quite excited because it's PAX Prime finished.
Yep.
And their big announcement wasn't backwards compatibility list, it was a new Elite Xbox One, which I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Yeah, solid state drive.
Yeah. And the Elite controller with the customisable parts. But it's going to be about 450, 500 quid, which is good, but not enough to pay the extra for me. I still fancy that controller when it drops below 50 quid, but it won't. But this whole service, I'm still surprised Sony haven't come back and said, you know what, that PS Now, if you own the game already, you don't have to pay for it. I don't see why they haven't done that. Like, it's obvious they can do it.
Yeah, because Microsoft are rolling this out to all the future games with gold games.
Yep.
So, I can't remember what it is on the 360th month, but if my time is right, so whatever it is for the 360th month.
Crisis, I think one of the
Crisis
games
Crisis
on
is the
there.
second half of the month, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, theoretically, Crisis will be backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Come November. So, I mean, that's... How easy is that, theoretically?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of work in the background goes into it, but
ultimately,
from a consumer point of view, that's pretty easy.
It's a software-based solution.
Yeah.
Right? So if Microsoft can come up with a software-based solution that allows them to emulate the 360 on the Xbox One, and they've also said they're
basically
interested...
said they've done it. Well, we know they've done it. It's just then getting the sign-offs from the developers to say,
I'm saying,
it's fine.
If originally they said, we can't do it, because putting the hardware in is too expensive.
Yeah.
And they're right. It was a ridiculous idea to just say, let's add an extra £100 onto the price to support old games. But hearing all these people saying, I wish it supported this, would have made sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely would have made sense. Sony need...
This is the second time they've done that as well, because they did it with the original Xbox games on 360. So you'd think they might be sort of learning a little bit.
And there's talk now of the original Xbox games also being backwards compatible
on
Xbox One.
Less bothered about that.
But for some people, that will be a nice touch if they've still got them, you know. And I just
I'm speaking personally.
I mean, for me, the only original Xbox game I'd like to play is Crimson Skies, which is still one of my favourite ever flying games. Love that game. But so when that breaks, which should be this week, hopefully we'll be able to talk next week and go through exactly how excited I am, because I should be playing them all at the time of them.
Anything on the wish list?
At the moment, we know Fallout's coming.
Yep.
but I'd quite like that to be added this week, just so I can start playing Fallout 3.
I'd be shocked if they didn't do something in maybe even at the start of October. There's a game with gold.
Yeah.
Because that would be the perfect lead up to Fallout 4.
It would. It absolutely would. What would be really good would be to have Fallout for the first part of the month, for Fallout New Vegas for the second part of the month, and just say you've now played all of them.
Yeah.
Because a fortnight is enough. If you really hammer it, you could do the story of both those games in a fortnight easily enough.
Oh.
But
imagine if they did 1 and 2.
Don't even start that. They won't. They can't. So they could, but no, they won't. They don't need to. I've got it. Shush. Don't, because I'll put it in a bomb and I'll get excited again.
I'm keep making noises.
You don't need to. Just do one and we'll just loop it. There we go. And I think Burnout Paradise, which I know Criterion has said they're quite keen to do. I'd love to see that because it is one of the most played games I had on there. I'd also quite like something a bit more obscure, maybe like Overlord, the Codemasters game. I'd quite like to see that as a backwards compatible because I enjoyed it, but I never really got to play it too much. But Bioshocks as well.
Yep.
Get the Bioshocks on there.
Definitely.
And I said, what would
Mass Effect 2 and 3 would make sense, given that 1 was on the original list.
Well, what will happen is I will end up buying the digital version on their 360 to have the backward compatibility because I don't want to put the disc in. I'm happy to just have a digital version. I'm almost wishing I could be in a position where everything could just be digital now, because I kind of look at my discs and I'm like, oh, it's an effort to put a game in.
To you because I feel terrible.
I know, but here's the thing: like, if I want to play another game, I literally just select that game. I don't have to get up, get a disc out of a case, eject a disc, put the disc in, put that disc back in that case, put them back on, and close the cabinet door, sit back down. Even that seems now archaic to me. I'm so entranced in this digital only world. The other day, I wanted to play Trials Fusion. I didn't have it because it's on disc. I didn't even have it with me because I didn't carry it around. And I just thought, why have I got that installed? What a waste of time that is. And then I looked how much it cost to buy it digitally and bought it, even though I've got a disc, because I couldn't bother to go and fetch the disc. Because it's easier. I can just say to my console, Xbox, go to Trials Evolution, or whatever it's called, Fusion, and it will load it straight away. And I love that. And so, more digital games would be brilliant. Speaking of digital games, let's talk about Pac-Man 256.
Okay.
I don't know if you've touched this at all.
Nope.
Do you remember Crossy Road?
I remember you playing Crossy Road.
Right. I love Crossy Road.
Yep.
And Bandai Namco went to the makers of Crossy Road, Hipster Whale, they're called. Went to them and said, could you make a Pac-Man game? And they went, yep. And they kind of have, but they also kind of just made Crossy Road again.
Okay.
But they've used a lot of assets from Crossy Road, so the actual game
Basically, they've used something popular and stuck with it.
But also, like, you collect the coins.
Yeah.
And the coins are exactly the same, and they make exactly the same noise. And at the end of a round, you get a prize thing, exactly the same as you get in Crossy Road. Because it works. It feels like a sequel to Crossy Road, but it's Pac-Man. But it's not Pac-Man in Crossy Road, which also wouldn't have worked. So basically, it's an endless scrolling Pac-Man game. And you can go up and down, but it's based on 256. Now, 256 is an error.
Yeah.
That basically, if it happened while you played the game, it was a kill screen. You couldn't do it. So the bottom of the screen is constantly being eaten away by this error code. So you can't go back too far.
Yeah.
And there are ghosts that randomly appear that aren't the regular ghosts, and they have this error code around. And their behaviours are different to the ones that the game came with. So you can kind of predict how certain ones will go based on how the original Pac-Man design worked.
Yeah.
But then the error ones will just hone in on you, and they'll be after you. And there's power-ups you can get. You can get lasers, and it's the best Pac-Man game since Pac-Man VR, Pac-Man Versus rather, on GameCube.
Yep.
Which up until now is still my favourite. That one, you had 4 people on the GameCube playing as the ghosts, and they could see a first-person view of the maze.
Yeah.
And then a fifth person had a Game Boy Advance, and they had a Pac-Man screen, and they were Pac-Man. So they had to get all the dots while the ghosts were human-controlled. And if you killed the Pac-Man, you became the Pac-Man. And so you passed the control on. It was phenomenal. It was perfect Pac-Man gaming. And this is now the same thing, because Pac-Man original, Ms. Pac-Man, whatever, it was a very solid pattern-based game.
Mm.
Uniquely in the world of retro games, this one has evolved.
Yeah.
And where it evolved, it took in new technologies and new approaches. And Pac-Man 256 takes in mobile gaming and goes, that's what you want.
Yeah.
High score run, unlockable power-ups, and a time thing that you can pay your way out of if you want to. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll set a high score thing.
Yeah.
Anyone listening, and you as well, get on it. And next week we'll have a little top 5
Nice.
of high scores.
Yep.
And we'll read them out on the show.
Yep.
So get involved. It's free download on Android and iOS, so no excuse not to get it. And
tweet us your high scores.
Tweet us in.
We are the Lollicourse with an R, the letter R.
Yeah. And make sure you include your screenshot of your game.
Yes.
You can actually do that directly from the app as well, which is quite handy. So do that
Yeah.
because we don't want people just cheating.
No, don't want that.
No. Right. Fighting Fantasy.
Yes.
Now, I remember you sort of into these a little bit when you were younger. Were you as much as I was? Or
I don't think so.
I think you were sort of a little bit younger than me.
Yeah.
I was sort of on the back side of these, really.
But you're 35, and I'm only 31.
The inverted commas that you just bit in the air didn't really work there when you just do it on the audio.
It does go like this, 35.
Well, as anyone knows, I love the Tin Man Games adaptations, and I'm really getting into board gaming at the moment. And at the moment, there's a Kickstarter about to launch for Fighting Fantasy Quest,
Right.
which is a 4-player random dungeon game based on that game book.
Okay.
And that's quite exciting to me. Board games are exploding.
They are.
Terrorists keep
big
putting
time.
bombs in. Did you see the headline that I shared on Twitter today about the pony bomb?
No. I saw the headline everybody's been sharing about the Chinese hiding their submarines underwater.
No, this is a local paper went pony bombing in Wisbech.
Right.
And I was like, oh God, someone's bombed it. Oh, it's not, it's just a pony pulling a face in the background of a photo. There was no way.
That's the most Finland headline, pony bombing. That could mean either, and everybody would go, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, I thought, how bad of me to have thought, what an awful situation. Like,
Again, Finland, it could have
terrorists
happened.
attacked a horse, or maybe
Local
somebody
dispute
like
between two farms.
packed a horse up with dynamite and pushed him into Greg's or something. But no, or just took down the horse fair because a sign of oppression, because all the horses are made of metal and attached to cages. But that's a very local joke if you don't know it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so board games is a big thing. And
Death to Shetlands. Yep.
yeah, so with this, there's a lot of scope for things, and they said expansion packs would include the next 5 books that they made as well. And I quite like the idea of taking that game book that I was so interested in as a kid.
Yeah.
And the reason those books existed were because it was so difficult to find somebody to play Dungeons & Dragons with. They wanted a way of saying, if you're just on your own,
I had an Indiana
can
Jones
play
version.
yeah, because they were huge.
Great. Brilliant.
They were hugely
That's what
popular.
got me into them. I think I bought it for like 50p off a market somewhere.
Yeah.
Thinking it was just an Indiana Jones book.
And then suddenly you had a whole
I was
world.
like, now turn to page 12. What?
Yeah. And this is it. So
I was like, oh.
now, all those people who've enjoyed those books, it's pretty fair to say a lot of those will be into tabletop gaming. Because that's kind of what that always was. It was just tabletop gaming.
It was like a
book.
feat, yeah.
So now it's kind of come back again. Now they have done a Fighting Fantasy board game in the past.
Yep.
Warlock of Firetop Mountain. So it's quite exciting that that's all coming back. And very, very soon, Tin Man Games are going to announce what they're doing with Warlock of Firetop Mountain. And I know what it is, and I'm not allowed to say anything.
Don't
but
say
it's
anything.
so exciting. But let's just say these two would cross over quite nicely.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. But yeah, board games. I've ordered a whole load, Rob.
I saw your excited tweets.
Yeah, well, I've got some for my birthday. So I got Concept, which was Pictionary without drawing.
Yep.
I've got Elder Signs,
Yep.
which is a Cthulhu game, inspired game. And I've got the XCOM board game, which I'm very excited. Well, I've wanted this for a long, long time. And the fact that I've got that now, I'm stupidly excited about. We're definitely going to have to be having to play that. Full co-op, repel and invasion, smartphone connectivity.
Definitely.
And Terra Mythos Sea, which is the Rampage board game, which we talked about as well.
We did.
So I've got all of those, and I've ordered Love Letter, the Hobbit edition.
Right.
I've ordered King of Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
And I've ordered Star Wars Imperial Assault, which is a massive big box miniature.
Yeah.
It comes in a box like that, huge.
Proper box.
You could kill a cat and bury it in it.
Right.
Well, to be fair, you could blend a cat and put it into a love letter box probably, but it's huge and it's basically kind of like, well, it's inspired by the same people who made a game called Descent, which was kind of like you had a dungeon master and then a team. And the Dungeon Master's job was obviously to defeat the heroes, and the hero's job was to defeat the Dungeon Master. This kind of puts you in a position where it's set after the destruction of Death Star. The kind of game master as such is the Empire, and you play the rebels or whatever on these different missions. There's all sorts of different missions, and you can make it as you go, or you follow the story lines exactly. And there's skirmish mode, which gives you like a 2-player mode. There's a lot to it. It's expensive, but luckily I got some nice, generous gifts from friends. So
I still want to get the Battlestar board game. Battlestar Galactica board game. Let's give that a go. It's not unreasonably priced. It's about £35. I think.
No.
So I might invest in that at some point.
Yeah, because I was reading through Tabletop magazine again, which we talked about a little bit last time, and so what I decided is any that I buy, I'm going to just mark the page.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go through now and actually work out a wish list of like 50 games I genuinely want.
Yeah.
And then if I've got a spare 20 quid, drop it down. Oh, and I've also ordered Get Bit as well, which I had heard nothing about until last week. It was in that magazine, I'll just skip straight past it because it looked rubbish. But it's kind of like basically, there's a tiny plastic shark, and you're a tiny plastic person, and you have cards, and you play cards, and depending on which card you play, it depends how far away from the shark you can move.
Right.
And the person who's close to the shark loses a limb, and if you lose all your limbs, you're dead.
Right.
And so it's kind
So
of...
it's quite a simple premise.
Simple thing, but there's a lot of bluffing.
Yeah.
And should you play a card that might be a bad card, but if everybody else plays a rubbish card,
you might be alright.
You could end up better off. So I've ordered a deluxe edition, which comes in a tin, and the figures are painted.
With a real shark?
No.
Just like, yours,
cool. But in
leave it on the
the
ground.
regular version, you get little red, what look like robots.
Right.
The deluxe edition, you get they're painted as pirates. So I kind of wanted that tin version because why not? It's the same price as the regular version, basically.
That's ridiculous. Who wouldn't buy that then?
Yeah, if you can have deluxe for the price of regular, you do, don't you? Yeah. So lots of board game stuff. You tried to steal a copy of Hero Quest, didn't you?
Well, I didn't try and steal it. No,
you just stole it.
No, it's my brother-in-law's, and it was hidden under his bed because we stayed at Emma's dad's when we went down to
That was a risky move, looking
under
the
teenager's
mattress of teenagers.
Yeah, it was his 16th birthday while we were there. It was definitely risky. But it was there. I'm like, I knew you'd appreciate me going, look. And then everybody else joined in.
I was going to say, there's a flurry of people trying to work out the greatest heist since Ocean's 13, wasn't it? Bouncy's 4. Yeah. That would have been... good.
I might see what he wants for it and give him a little bit of... Well, he's 16 now, so it would be beer money for it next time we go down.
Is he a massive nerd?
Yeah.
Oh, he might.
I don't know if he's a massive tabletop game nerd though.
Oh, okay.
So the 20 quid might be more appealing to him than
just make sure you don't mention how much it's worth.
No, I won't.
Because it's not worth anything these days. Yeah. If you had Hero Quest Advanced, then it'd be worth something. I think Hero Quest itself is only worth about £5 now, so we'd be lucky to get 20.
True.
Play this audio to him.
Oh well.
Not this bit there where I'm pointing it out. So, right, so that's that. You need to put it running order back up. I've got what we're talking about.
Huh?
Half-Line
Miami is the next thing on our running.
Yeah, so have you played Hotline Miami?
I haven't played Hotline Miami.
Have you played Half-Life 2? That's important because basically somebody's just made Half-Life 2 and Hotline Miami
as one game.
And it's a completely free download if you go to staberthomas.itchy.io. Yep. And it's glorious. I'm not going to say much about it. I just want people to play it, basically. That's why it went on running order, because it's just ridiculous. It's as much like Grand Theft Auto, the original Grand Theft Auto, as Hotline Miami, because it's got this weird design to make it look like Half-Life. That kind of makes it look a bit more like that than anything else. But it's pretty cool. It's free, and if you like it, you can make a donation. Usually, but it's very, very cool, and go play it.
And you just want to add that in there. Marvellous.
That's it. Yeah, that is it. So, finally, bear in mind that's an indie game.
And finally,
We've got something that is going to be a big feature, hopefully next week.
Yeah.
When I've finished researching this fully, because there's so much to read to get all sides of the story. But it's basically, are we on the cusp of an indie game extinction event, or, as what I've found out since writing this running order, are we on at the cusp of the triple I gaming event?
right?
Which some indie developers are saying that now indie games are more profitable than AAA titles. So are we going to see the birth of the triple I?
Right.
Which also could make a lot of sense if
Yep.
big console companies get behind a game enough. It can get as much marketing as... I mean, like say Mad Max came out today.
Yeah. It's got good reviews from what I've seen.
It's got good reviews, even though it had an embargo, and everybody went, that must be rubbish. But no marketing
Yeah.
at all. Like
Very limited. I've seen some adverts, banners on a couple of sites, but not a huge amount.
Not in the sense of what you would expect for a game like that.
Yeah.
You know, and when you consider that Metal Gear Solid is out and it's got TV adverts
Oh,
and it's
Christ.
on every website
That
you
was
go
always
to,
going to have that kind of massive...
It was, but that's the point. Like, you can now see indie games getting more promo than Mad Max,
Yeah.
which is somewhat crazy. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information that is just mind blowing. Like,
So we might have an apocalypse, we might have a surge of...
Or it might just carry on
Or
as
it might
it
just
is.
carry on as we are.
yeah, that's what the discussion will be
Yep.
when we have the full discussion. I just need to bring some more to the table than the question. Because it all kicked off, there was a graph, basically.
Right.
that
Oh,
showed-
it was bloody graphs.
I do like
yeah.
a graph. And it basically
No.
suggested exactly the path that indie games are now taking in terms of sales, exposure and profitability. And a lot of them are not even making profit,
Right.
even though they're getting more exposure,
Right.
which is wrong.
Yeah.
Because surely if you're advertising something more,
Or if more people are talking about it.
and they're saying that now because of things like Steam Greenlight, because of things like Kickstarter, it's now easier for everybody to get a game on Steam,
Yeah.
but less easy for people to make money from
Right,
it
yeah.
because there's so much.
Yep.
So I will go away and do my homework and come back with a PowerPoint presentation or something for you.
Right.
Probably not a PowerPoint presentation, going
Go
by
for
the
that.
one from MGPX.
Yeah,
It was
well,
just
yeah, the last one.
a picture of a child dressed as the Ecto-1. But what I might do is I might actually write it up as an article and then we can discuss the article next week. That might make more sense because then everyone listening will also have an idea of what the hell I'm trying to talk about. But in the short term, what I'd like people to do is get in touch.
Yep.
What was the last indie game you paid for? And did you recommend it to people? And why did you buy it? Was it because it was on... I mean, like E3. Beyond Eyes, which I talked about, is an indie game
Yep.
for all intents and purposes. And I bought it because it was on the E3 conference stage. Probably wouldn't have even known about it without that exposure.
I think the last one I bought was. I don't buy many indie games.
No. Well, you're not as hipster as me, are you?
No.
You're
I did
kinda-
like them before they were cool, though.
I burnt my pizza, a mouth on a pizza before it was cool.
Really?
I still love that hipster. Why did the hipster burn his mouth? Oh dear, the old ones are still the best. And yeah, so get in touch, like we said earlier, via Twitter at We Are the Holocaust with a letter R, or you can email them over.
Yes,
to,
you can.
What, We Are the Holocaust with the
Gmail.
word R
Yeah.
at gmail.com. Or just click the big envelope on the website, which is at www.lolacourse.co.uk.
It is.
Which, yeah, that's what we'd like. Let's wrap it up. What can people do if they want to help us out?
We've got the Amazon affiliate link,
We have.
which again you can find on the website from the menu at the top. There's all our different options, links to the various places you can find the podcast, though probably if you're listening to this you've already found the podcast, so thumbs up to you. But there's the Amazon affiliate link, and
You put
also
your thumb up then.
I did. I'm a visual medium as well.
And I'm the audio description.
Yeah, there we go. We're like BBC Two late at night. And also a link for Loot Crate, should you be so inclined to sign up for Loot Crate. And the
Next.
last two have been pretty awesome, to be fair. We had Heroes 2 and Villains 2.
Next month is all summons.
Yep.
And it's related specifically with Supernatural,
Yep.
Pokemon, and was it Hearthstone? Or Blizzard, some Blizzard thing.
Yeah.
So if you're into that kind of stuff in particular, you know you're going to get something very good. Have you got the Villains crate yet?
Yep, it's on the table in there.
Did you like your apron?
I did.
I was pissed when I didn't get that.
Ah.
I stopped.
It was hung up here. I don't know where I was put it. It was
Yeah.
like I'm pointing to bits of my kitchen. But
So for anybody who hasn't seen it, you basically got a Los Polos Americanos chicken apron off of Breaking Bad. And that was the first time that both me and my partner simultaneously looked at the Ukraine reveal and went, oh, for fuck's sake. Because I just couldn't afford it. Up until this month, I haven't been able to afford to justify it. And then with the Carnage or Venom, which one did you get, Carnage or Venom?
Venom.
So you got Venom mug.
Even then, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
It's a big,
Or you can get Carnage, which is
those
quite cool.
Toby head mug type
Yeah,
things,
yeah. And yeah, it was all very awesome. So next month should be as awesome.
Hopefully.
But yeah.
Last two have been pretty good.
So you can click on them. You can also review us on iTunes. We've had a couple of... I think we had a couple of new reviews. I will look now while you tell people how they can do that if they don't know already.
Well, they go to iTunes and they review us.
You need to do longer than that, Rob.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, you can explain that.
Like things like, I don't know, maybe they would want to re-review us perhaps.
Maybe they would. Maybe they think we've improved in quality, either of our audio or our banter. I've never just used that word.
You just use the word banter, and don't review us based on Rob saying the word bants.
Please don't. That's the first time I've ever used it and will be the last time, I can assure you. But yeah, maybe people think we've improved. Maybe they think we've got worse. So if so, tell us. Because feedback is important. Because we like to share the show so people enjoy it as well as we do.
We're at 18 reviews. It would be nice to hit 20 reviews.
It would.
We've had 20 ratings,
right?
But only 18 reviews. So
if you're one of those two people...
Well, no, even if you're not, go on, rate us and review us. Because it's always a bit weird when people go, well, I'll give that 5 stars, but I don't want to say why. It's nice. So by all means, do that. If you haven't got time or a keyboard, do so. My work computer, I don't have a keyboard. So if I hit, it's a touchscreen one, so I can bring up a virtual keyboard, but 90% of the time it won't load. Yeah. So I have to use a mouse and try and just copy and paste words that are already existing on there into a search bar. Yeah. It's a big waste of time. Yeah. So I probably would have just done 5 stars if I was reviewing myself on my work computer. But I wouldn't do that because I've got integrity.
It's about ethics in game journalism.
It certainly is. If you want to follow our scrawlings, read the website, or you can find me at Bouncy with an H after second B.
Or me at RobinGregor35.
Interestingly, I'm seeing a counsellor at the moment.
Right.
And he asked me for my email address, so I gave him my Bouncy Ball one, because I thought weird@gmail.com would be a bit weird. And he went, why has it got an H? Why is it spelled like that? And he's like a therapist, so he's getting inside my head a little bit. So I was thinking, do I tell him, like, well, when I'm thinking about my mum, just give me away once.
She's always on a space hopper.
So I gave him the story that I met Rimmer off of Red Dwarf.
Right.
And he gave me the H. Huh? And because of that extra H, I put it on my name and it became Bouncy B Hall. And he went, I like that. Yeah. I mean, it's not true. I said it's not true at all, it's one of them. And he went, no, it's good. It's good. And then wrote a load of notes.
Yeah.
So
make shit up. Thinks he's met Chris Barry. Hasn't.
Abject liar. Yeah. Compulsive liar.
Yeah. May have met Craig Charles. Definitely hasn't met Craig Barry.
Nobody cares if people met Craig Charles. You can go down a bus station in Leeds and meet Craig Charles. You just wouldn't know you've met him because he looks unemployed. Yeah. Because he's unemployed.
He's on the radio on Saturday.
Is he? Doing what?
Radio 2.
Playing what?
Just doing a show.
Banging a bin lid.
No, it was... Who was he talking to? Stephen Gray, the actor? Stephen Gray? He was in Snatch.
Possibly.
Short little pudgeon chap.
Stephen Graham.
Could have been. I always forget his surname. I know his face. I know Stephen something. Always forget his surname.
This is England as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Stephen Graham.
There we go. Always get the surname mixed up. So yeah, it was a little bit hard to follow because you've got two
I think Stephen Graham would probably also be unemployed and living at a bus station. So I'm not quite sold on your Radio 2 concept. And yes, so that's all good. I'm 35 and you're Rob Gregor.
We'll see you next week for episode 31.